Welcome back to She Sells, He Sells, Ideas Worth Buying. And I am selling today's idea.
You're on the hot seat today. It's an exciting idea. Exciting idea.
Yes. The idea is your 5-year plan is holding you back.
Saucy.
Saucy. Do you buy it or not?
Well, should I give you my verdict before we have the
Well, yeah. Tell
jury?
me what you think
Yeah,
right
no,
now,
I
and then you can tell me at the end if I
kind of
sell
do.
you.
I kind of do. I think this is one that we align on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You can still give me a hard time, though.
I shall.
You're so good at that. You're so good at that.
Even when I'm not trying, even when I don't mean to.
Yeah. You know, this idea was almost goal setting is holding you back.
Yeah.
And I changed it to your 5-year plan is holding you back because nuances. But I could say goal setting is holding you back because I do think the crux of this is making really specific goals for yourself is holding you back from the possibilities in your life. And that is the big idea I have to sell. Yeah. And I've definitely taken a 180 on this because I was like really big on those SMART goals, SMART. So the acronym, that's an acronym. And if you're not familiar with that, it's specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, timely. You've heard of that?
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, that like goal setting became a thing. I don't know. We were probably like teenagers when I started to know that this became a bigger thing, and then obviously into college and whatnot. And it almost feels like, goals were, there was some ambiguity to it. It was a little too vague. So SMART became the way to solve for ambiguity, right? So we're getting more specific, really becoming focused because I want to be a better X is not a good enough goal. And it almost feels like the pendulum swung from one side, kind of a little too far in the other direction, in my mind.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think? What say you?
Yeah. Why do you say it swung too far?
Well,
in what way?
Because I think when, at least in my personal experience, was like originally goal setting was really vague, really vast, very broad, and it did lack for some sort of like measuring stick. I would say, like in simplest terms, and then SMART became the way that people applied the measuring stick, but it's almost like we kind of went really crazy.
Yeah. It's interesting. We're going to get into it.
Yeah.
So the idea is your 5-year plan is holding you back, and I don't know. Oh, I was going to say I don't know if I've ever had a 5-year plan, but that's actually not true because I did, and that's where the story is going to come in.
Yes.
But last episode or 2 episodes ago when you lost our debate,
I checked the stats on that.
and you lost.
It appears that I have won every swing state, and
okay, Trump, you lost.
I did not.
You lost. You're the politician here because you definitely are just like fake news. But anyway, you do have some votes. I will give you that. Some people do agree with you. Most of the people that agree with you did not listen to the episode. They just are like, I agree. I don't like fake it, so you make it. Yeah. But anyway, you did have a really good soundbite. Live your why, not your lie. And I got a soundbite for this episode too. Your 5-year I had to review my notes. I don't have it committed to memory. Your 5-year plan isn't a roadmap. It might be a trap.
Ooh. Sticking with the rhyme, I see.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go roadmap to roadblock when I first heard
it. You know what? I kind of like that one better, but it could be a roadblock. So let me tell you why.
Okay. Are we going to get in the Wayback Machine here?
We're going in the Wayback Machine. Yeah. If we had more budget in this janky show, I would get our editors to be like, give some cool sound effect. But we should get sponsors. We're waiting on you.
Do you remember the old what was it? The TV show Black and White, and used to have like the spiraling.
Yeah.
What was that?
Many shows.
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
I think if I Dream of Jeannie, but I don't think that's
no. It was like the. Anyway, I'll think of it.
Anyway, back to the Wayback Machine in 2003. I was the lost, lonely girl
2003.
sitting in a classroom in Norman, Oklahoma, while my husband, who said, "Let's get married, it'll be fun." And then he decided to go to Iraq,
Yeah.
left me.
Yeah. I think that was my proposal. Let's get married. It'll be fun. And then you believed me because I'm a believable person.
Because you're good at sales. Yeah, look where it got me.
It did.
And I was left in Norman, Oklahoma. Actually, quick little aside, and we will get back on track here, but you did sell me on the idea of like, we'll get married and you can come out to Oklahoma for grad school. And it's really close to commute, to live in Lawton, Oklahoma, and to commute to OU, University of Oklahoma.
I own that. I did.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I said, about how far is it? And you said, it's about 45 minutes. And this is before, the internet. And
The internet existed.
well, it
Before,
existed,
like,
but it was like
yeah.
before it's in the palm of your hands.
Right. Smartphone.
And so I mean, I could have looked on a map. I think I did, but I guess I was dumb too. I don't know. But I'm like, okay, sure. Dumb and in love, young, dumb in love. Not me anymore.
The most important word in that is love.
And anyway, I moved out there and applied to school, accepted, decided I'm going to grad school for counseling, and we get married, and we get in the car to drive to school to get my books, and we're driving and it's 45 minutes and we realize we are halfway there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, it wasn't 90 minutes, but it was like 80 minutes away.
Yeah. I think in my defense, when I said that, I may have been thinking in terms of like helicopter travel. Like it may have been
time travel.
May have been 45 accomplishable in 45 minutes. Yeah,
helicopter. Yeah.
Not in a Honda Civic though.
Yeah. Anyway, so I did do that commute, and at this time, back in 2003, I am sitting in a classroom in Norman, Oklahoma, graduating because I made it with my degree in counseling. Now, TBH, that means to be honest, for those of you that don't know the slang, Brian.
I know that one.
I kind of knew that, like, I probably did not want to be a counselor for the rest of my life. Like, I really loved sitting with people, talking to people, helping people, getting to know their stories. But I already started to feel like the emotional burden of taking on all of this for people. And I know that's not what you're supposed to do as a counselor, but that's kind of was my personality, personality. And I realized like, maybe this is not for me, but I just invested all this time and money into it. So this is what I'm supposed to do. And so we sat down for a SMART goal planning session with like the Career Center. What's the 5-year plan? And I'm, type A perfectionist, like, let me achieve, let me do the right thing. And so I remember sitting down and writing out the 5-year plan of like what I'm supposed to do. And you could argue that I wasn't listening to my intuition. And that is a little bit true. But I also felt like I was making smart decisions for myself and looking at, money and time and a career path. And so I mapped out, I'm going to get a full-time counseling career, and I'm going to, at that time I wanted to work in a school, and I'm going to, rise up in the division and have this plan. And I there was a part of me that did really want that. Like I wanted to work with kids and I wanted to make an impact. Like it wasn't all like, I don't want to do this. Like I did want that. And so when I graduated, I did get a job in a school and it really went well. And then 2 years after that, you got out of the Army and we moved to Connecticut. And to continue on that path, it was like get another full-time job, because that's what I should have done. And we moved to Connecticut and this part-time counseling job came my way, but that's like not in the plan. And the other thing that came my way was another part-time job, motivational speaking.
Yes.
For this motivation. It was actually for monster.com.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember that, but I don't know if when you're listening, if you remember monster.com.
I actually love that phase when you were doing that. I was really into that.
Yeah, well, that's kind of where I'm going with this. But I could work part-time at this high school as a counselor, and I could work part-time for this motivational speaking company, traveling around to high schools, giving this talk to high school students about success in high school. Yeah. And there was a part of me that was like, kind of really want to do this. This sounds really exciting to me. And I don't know, maybe I'll give this a try. But it's not in the 5-year plan. But I listened to my intuition and I did that. And that really unlocked this part of me of like, I really love this standing on a stage and inspiring people and giving a message, and opened the door to this whole new part of me.
Mhm.
And I broke the 5-year plan. And had I not done that, I really, truly don't think any of what I'm doing
Yeah.
now would exist. And so to me, it's the perfect example of that 5-year plan can really suffocate you, especially if you are the kind of person like me that is like, follow the plan, do the thing, take the next step, you know, do the thing, achieve, 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 achieve. It's a very narrow-minded way of narrow-focused way of getting to the next thing. And I think you can arrive at the destination and realize you've missed a lot of opportunities and you're actually not happy.
Yeah. At what cost?
Yes.
I mean, and I think, the military analogy here is like, people say you have obviously a plan of operations, or, if you were in a wartime, you'd have a war plan, but you don't fight the plan, you fight the enemy, right? And in this case, you
kind of, let's not talk about the military right now.
in this case, like you adjusted the environment as opposed to adjusting everything to fit your plan, Can I ask, when you started that motivational speaker piece, did you feel like this was do you remember at the time thinking this is a deviation from the plan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt guilty.
Yeah.
I definitely felt guilty. I felt like a sellout, but I also felt excited. Like it was wrestling with those two pieces of the puzzle. And I feel like, honestly, I've continued for up until right now, like in this moment, continuing to wrestle with those two pieces of the puzzle. The voice inside of me that's like, you're not doing what you're supposed to do, is far less loud.
Sure.
And I can very much like quiet it down, and but I just think still, I don't think our children and will fight with it nearly as much as we do.
Yeah.
But I think it's still there. I mean, my career path is pretty unconventional. I think still most of my friends do not understand what I do. Like, I think if you ask most of my friends, like, what does Krista do? How does she make money? I don't think they would be able to answer you.
Yeah.
My parents probably couldn't answer you. I think most people don't understand it. Some days I don't even understand it. So yeah, I think it is hard. Yeah, so there is that feeling of guilt when it's like you're not doing the thing that you set out to do, you're not doing the thing you're supposed to do, but I also know, like, I feel excited, I feel happy, I feel fulfilled, I feel energized every day, and that's the goal. And I also feel like I'm using my God-given skills, talents. I know I'm tapping into like what makes me me, and if I was a counselor, I know there'd be things left on the table.
Yeah.
When I was working that part-time job, which did eventually turn into a full-time job. So that's the other piece of the puzzle here.
Right.
I did end up
Sure.
leaving that motivational speaking job because they offered that part-time job. They were like, hey, we want to bring you on full-time. So I did do that for a little bit, and I was miserable.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is not for me.
Yeah.
But I was like doing the right thing, putting in the hours, getting the paycheck, and it just did not sit well with me.
Yeah. But I also think like taking a chance on that, even though that didn't become a pursuit, that motivational speaker story that you're telling, it didn't become an immediate pursuit for you at that moment in time. It did show you've got a talent for this, an aptitude for this. It's something you like. It's something you want to work at to continue to get better at. If you would have said, hey, this isn't in the plan, would you be today? Maybe, but maybe not. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that to me is the big question. I think it's about, you kind of have to follow the breadcrumbs, and when an opportunity comes your way that feels good and aligned, you have to say yes to it.
Yeah.
You owe it to yourself to say yes to it.
Yeah.
So when it comes to you and, the listener, or you're kind of wrestling with this, whether it's a business or career, I mean, I think you can relate to this quite a bit.
Oh, yeah,
Looking at
100%.
your
Yeah.
own life, like your degree is in economics.
Yep.
Then you spent 5 years in the military.
Yep.
Then you moved into sales, which you're still in sales, but when you look at like the niche of sales, you were in med device and then biotech,
biotech, med tech,
yeah,
data heavy and software heavy, and now still data heavy and software heavy, but nothing to do with med tech.
Yeah, now you've kind of found your way back into like the military world. So like it's very circuitous.
Yeah.
What's the thread you find?
Yeah, I mean, I think like if I had to like boil it down to one thing, it's really hard, but I don't know if I can, but to me, I've always been a really mission-driven person. Like, do I do a thing that I feel adds value to a community or a group of people or helps somebody else in some way, shape, or form? We've talked about this before. I don't know that I could. I don't know that how effective I would be in a sales role that wasn't something that I was like, oh, this is a good thing for someone else. Um, and when I think about, and we've talked about this going back a couple of years, when I started to become a little disenchanted with the industry that I was in at the time, what was a time when I felt personally fulfilled in my life? What did I really enjoy doing? I love being in the military because I feel like it's a wide ranging group of people that come from endless different backgrounds who come together with one goal, And that to me was like such a cool experience. I was a young person. I matured a lot in there. I met so many good people, had the opportunity to be associated with so many good people. It made me feel good, And, at my age, I can't go back into the military, right? But like, that was something that
I would not. He would not stay a married man.
Even at, and my age vetoes that anyway. But, like feeling, is there a way to reconnect with that? Even if it's like, not professionally, like, is there a way for me to tap into that again? And then like this opportunity coming up for me, I was like, oh, wow, this is like the culmination and bringing together of so many things that I feel like I've developed skills and talents and experience in, as well as things that personally drive and motivate me. I'm just so excited that, I feel very lucky that that sort of all came together for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think as you shifting the mindset of like the 5-year plan, because I know some of the people I coach, some of my friends, some of our listeners are really big goal setters, really big planners. So what do you do instead?
Yeah.
This isn't to say you don't have a vision for your life, because you and I have big visions for our life. But to me, it's like when you just have that one tunnel vision, I kind of imagine it as like, you're driving down one lane and you have blinders on, and you can't see. It's like you're going down one lane highway, and on these other lanes there's all these amazing opportunities, but you can't see them because you're like, but no, I'm going just towards this one thing. So it's like you just have to go down that one lane, but just take the blinders off and realize like, oh, hold on, I see this cool thing over here. I'm just going to shift over here and I'm going to head down this way for a while, but you're still moving forward.
Yep.
So you're still moving forward towards a vision, but it's like you're just going to allow yourself to shift lanes a little bit. So to me, it's how do I want to feel? How do I want my life to feel? And this isn't like hippy dippy, like I want to, sleep until 11 or whatever. Like, how do I want my days to feel? What do I want to be known as or for?
It's a good one.
Yeah. And what activities energize me? And I think that is also like ends up being, what are you good at? Yeah. Because what you're good at is what energizes you. And those are the things that you end up really liking. When I think back to my counseling situation, like I'm good at connecting with people. Yeah. And so that's what I was drawn to with counseling. I wasn't very good at like diagnosing people and sitting with people and I was good at calling people out on their BS, as you know.
I was saying, like, don't undersell yourself in that regard.
But, I was good at like, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
But I wasn't necessarily good, as you know, with like sitting with people in their like, yeah, that must be really hard. And just like,
People might call that empathy.
you know what? If we weren't on camera, I would say something to you right now.
That's yeah,
But I really wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't like. I'm just like, no. Let's go. Let's just move forward. Like I am empathetic to, but I agree with you. I am empathetic to a point, but then I'm like, I'm much more of a coach than I am a counselor.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you're action driven, right? Like,
I am action driven.
This is your situation. Okay, that sucks. How do you start to be not in that situation if you don't like it?
I'm like, I don't like, let's spend a little bit of time in your past. Okay, let's move forward. Yeah. I'm like future focused, not past. And I know that about myself. I also would rather, like, I like talking one-on-one, but I also like, let me stand here and like, let me motivate a group of people and let me connect people. So like, I know this about myself. Mm-hmm. My weaknesses, like, how do I flip them into my strengths? So find that about yourself. And then how do you look at that in opportunities? If this conversation is interesting to you as you're listening, the episode is actually episode 199, the last episode we did before we had our hiatus and our rebrand, where we talked about the Stanford Odyssey plan. Yeah. This ties in perfectly to what we're talking about right now. So they talk about designing your life, and it's really like creating 3 different paths for your life. Yeah. Your current path, a completely different path, and an unconstrained path. So that could be really interesting too. But that's really the solution. So looking at like, what do you want your life to look like? What do you want to be known for? And then what are you good at? What energizes you?
Yeah. That to me was like, if you go back to the pendulum analogy, went from one extreme to the other. That feels a little more settled in the middle to me. Mm-hmm. And I actually got kind of really into researching and reading about that as we were prepping for that episode, and I just thought that was a really cool concept, and I really like the idea. It's obvious why it's such a super popular course at Stanford, and lots of thought goes into it, and actually the person who sort of developed the Odyssey plan as a concept has a really interesting background, and how he married sort of his mechanical engineering, software engineering background to a PhD in theology. I mean, those are 2 things that, they don't seem like 2 branches on the same tree to me, but a really interesting mix of a person, deep thinker, and I really appreciated that concept.
All right, so throw some stuff at me. Like, you've been too agreeable. I
think we've been too agreeable. I think the first thing is that I would say generally is, if I don't have a plan, how do I know what I'm doing? Right? I don't have a map. How do I know I get from A to B? Sort of idea. I get that.
Well, don't answer your own objection.
Well, you answer it first, and then I'll answer mine.
That's not how this works, dude. Yeah. So again, to me, it's not about not having a map. You definitely need a map. Yeah. It's just, if you have the map, I think it's almost like I was just using Google Maps yesterday, right? And so I put in my destination and it gave me 3 different options to get there. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Like, figure out your destination. Where do you want to go? But create a lot of different routes to get there. And so know where you want to be by knowing, like, what do you want to be known for? Know what do you want your life to look like? Know what are you good at? And so, like, what is the vision for your life? And then allow yourself to imagine all the different options, and also understand, like, you don't even know all of the options that there are for yourself. And like, as you start moving in that general direction, as you just start taking steps, there's going to be options and opportunities that come to you that you're like, wow, I never even imagined that. But that's going to come to me. Like, this podcast, like, we never imagined we'd be podcast hosts together, but like, it just was an idea, and we're like, let's run with it. So it's not having a vision. It's a vision married with action, and then knowing that opportunities will come, and you have to also say yes to them.
Yeah. And I think So agreed, right? And the other thing that I think of, if I may answer my own objection briefly, is that counselor is that
Yeah, I mean, we're running out of time.
okay?
We're running out of time
If I may
here
answer my own objection here too a little bit, and I've got one more objection for you to handle as well.
for you to handle.
Yeah, this is for you. Um, you mentioned earlier about the idea of hitting a goal versus reaching your full potential. So you also, I mean, also the title of this episode is your 5-year plan. So going back in the less way back machine, the closer back machine.
Hmm.
If we go back to April 2021, that's 5 years ago from today, ish, right?
Hmm. By the way, well, go ahead. Today is a special day that you haven't even acknowledged.
Yeah, I know what it is.
No, you
No, I
don't,
do.
because I said
Point
it.
five. Point five. Half birthday.
It's my half
Yeah.
birthday, guys.
So, if we go back in the less way back machine to April 2021, right? Um, and I just looked up some things that were happening in April 2020. Obviously, COVID, right? We remember that pretty well. Although sometimes that does seem like a long way in the past. And I'm just saying this to demonstrate how much things change in 5 years, right? And to highlight the idea of if you're focused on hitting a goal or an objective, you're not reaching your fullest potential. So in April 2021, NASA, because it's been in the news lately with Artemis 2 and whatever, they had the first drone flight on Mars, on the Mars lander, right? The goal for that was to reach 5 total missions in a 30-day span in order to validate that you can fly in low density atmosphere, right? And it's a total drone flown on sensors, obviously, because of the delay in getting communications back and forth. What it ended up accomplishing was 72 missions over 3 years. So if they were solely focused on the goal, if they would only meet, what can we do to make 5 missions? They would have missed out on 67 additional opportunities, right? Which is crazy to me. And I think it just highlights the idea that if you're focused on the goal, you don't reach the full potential. Maybe
Yeah.
nobody knew, maybe nobody had any idea that it would last 3 years and accomplish so much. But if they would have done 5 and been like, cool, what's next? Let's move on to another thing. They miss all of that full potential opportunity.
Shoot for the moon, because if you miss, you might land among the
Or
stars.
you might end up in Artemis, dark side of the moon.
So true.
True. Yeah.
All right,
So I
what's
got
your
one more.
last objection?
One more
before
is
we wrap this.
I'm a salesperson.
Me too.
I need a measuring stick. How do I can't live in this world of like, I want to have these 3 options. I need to be able to grade myself on a thing. I have a quota. Either I'm 100%, 120%, 90% the quota. I need something to measure myself.
Yeah. I think then just micro goals, like smaller goals. It's not about not having goals. It's about these big long-term goals that will keep you feeling boxed in. So smaller steps for
Yeah.
sure. Month goal, like a month goal, like by the end of this month, this is what I want to accomplish. But also pledging to yourself that you're going to keep your mind and your heart and your eyes and your ears open to other things along that path. So maybe if you are that very driven, I need to have some sort of metric, and you love a sprint, this is my goal by the end of this month. And then when I hit that, I'm going to kind of like take a lap for 2 or 3 days and recalibrate and kind of look and see, like, did this fulfill me? What is next? What came about for this? Because the danger is simply in that when we're so hyper focused on this one thing, we miss the other opportunities. That's when I say your 5-year plan is keeping you stuck. That's what I mean. Some of the stats that I didn't get to mention. 2 psychologists who created goal-setting theory, their names were Locke and Latham, found in their own research, rigid specific goals create tunnel vision. So, these are the founders saying this. The other thing is, studies have showed only 10% of people actually achieve their ambitious goals. Yeah. So that's the whole other side of this. Like, most people don't hit these goals. Sure. And so then what happens? It's like, well, I'm a failure. I can't do this. And, nothing's ever going to work for me. And so then we stop reaching for these things and we just live in this level of mediocrity. And so that's a whole episode in and of itself. Yeah. And so really the idea is creating a vision, allowing yourself to be open to opportunities. What am I good at? What do I want life to be? And it's really a mindset shift of like, back to what we said in episode 199, and I'm not going to get this quote right, but like, there are so many, it was something about like, there's so many multitudes available to you in this life that like your lifetime can't even, one lifetime doesn't even allow for it.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
misquoting it.
exactly what it was. Yeah, something like there's one lifetime doesn't give you enough time to pursue all of the things
Yeah.
that you have interest in, et cetera. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the doing is almost better than the becoming.
Yeah.
Like it's like the doing is the gift. Like, because will you ever at the end of the day, like if I want to be the number one speaker in the world, like will I ever be that? I don't know. But like I want to have a damn good time getting there. I want to have fun in the process. And so like that's the whole goal. It's about having fun. It's about enjoying it. It's about like tapping into myself, my gifts, and it's about like feeling proud of myself along the way. And so if it's just about this is the 5-year plan and we got to get there, and like, I think that's just an antiquated way of being. And for us as adults, and also for those of us that are raising young people, I think this is just a fresher way of teaching goal setting.
Yeah, agreed.
So
yeah, and I got one more piece on the micro goal thing you mentioned, because I really think that's important, right? I mean, salesperson, you're held to a standard that is your quota, right? Like that's the world we've chosen to live in. That's fact. We can't change that, right? The other piece is like I would challenge people to think about this in terms of time investment. You want to be better at a thing. I use the sports analogy all the time. Like we're in baseball season, our son plays baseball. You can set the goal of I want to hit 500 this year, right? Well, all of the things that are going into that, you mentioned, what if you don't, right? Most people don't achieve their goal. How about I spend 20 minutes a day hitting off the tee, right? I want to be a better salesperson. I need a bigger pipeline. How about if I spend 15 minutes a day on cold calls and cold emails, right? And just and start with a micro goal, right? Do it for 2 weeks. Give yourself 14 days, 15 minutes a day. That's over 3 hours when you add it all up. That's a good chunk of time, right? See what comes of it, get better at it, alter, adjust, move forward.
Yeah. Well, it's like instead of a vision board, we've talked about this before too, but they say, or I've said it, but it's not my original thought. You create a becoming board. And so instead of like you put, the finish line of the race, you put like you out there running in the rain. Like these are the things I'm doing to get that finish line. So
makes sense.
Yeah. You like that?
I concur.
So do you buy it?
I do.
B. Demch.
I do buy it.
Your 5-year plan is keeping you stuck.
Yeah. I'll tell you, well, we can talk offline about some of my personal 5-year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like what?
It's NSFW as the.
I don't know what that is.
Not safe for work.
Do people say that?
I don't know, but I think they say that like if you're gonna say bad words on.
Oh. Okay.
Maybe not. Maybe that's not a thing anymore. Maybe everything is safe.
All right. So we want to know, do you buy it?
Yeah.
Your 5-year plan is keeping you stuck.
Yeah.
You got to let us know. And we will be back next week with another idea worth buying. Thanks so much for listening.